Grande Alive. Welcome to Coffee with Will, brought to you by Grand Ron Hospital, Northwest Furniture and Mattress, Anything 2 Digital, EONI, and Med Transport. And I am here today with the one and only Mr. Brent Clapp, who is the behind-the-scenes guy here at Brent Clapp Media and Grande Alive, and he is here today to give us a behind-the-scenes peek, looking in behind the blue screen, Grande Alive, at what happens in the days and lives of Grande Alive. So, Brent, thank you so much for chatting with me here today. Didn't have to come very far to come into the studio,
No,
did
it was
you?
Close, yeah.
Just about 5 feet from your office.
That's right.
That's a luxury that many Coffee with Will guests don't get afforded. But you know, it's one that you probably deserve, given the fact that you are the person that foots the bill for Grande Alive. So now, that being said, this is Brent's 10th year in business here at Brent Clapp Media Services, Grande Alive, and so you've come a long way to bringing Grande Alive to being here. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the story of what brought us here today at Grande Alive?
Well, I won't go into great detail because we've talked to the audience before about this a little bit. But
Sure.
but we started. The business started because I was looking for a job at the end of the day, and in 2009. I lost a middle management job in a company here, and that's kind of that's the crisis time during the recession, and middle management was going away in companies everywhere, and I was one of those that lost my job, and was kind of trying to recreate my life, recreate my career, and in the middle of that, we started Brent Clapp Media. Now, I had done production work and photography and video production when I was younger, about your age, and had done that very successfully, and then moved on to another career. And it was at the time when in 2009, I didn't even own a camera, and so
it's a good thing to own if you're going into media.
Yeah, so it was crazy, you know, and that was the very beginning emergence of HD video. We could have gone with photography or video, and I kind of chose to go with video because that, you know, I just thought that there was more of a need for that in businesses, and everybody has a camera, and even more people have a camera now.
Yeah.
And so anyhow, so that's kind of how we got started. And I bought my first camera and then realized that the computer I had wouldn't even process the video, and so then I brought a computer, and then it was just one thing after another.
Wow. Now we have like 768 cameras.
Yeah.
I think, or 769 as of yesterday, or something like that.
And we started the business in the back bedroom of the house, in our house out in Island City. We put a little sign out we live on the road to Cove, and we put a little sign out there, and I was surprised at the number of people that noticed the sign and they would stop. And so we did some video production, and then that was kind of the beginning of Anything to Digital, starting converting VHS tapes to DVD and so on and so forth. And we still do that, you know. But that was kind of the humble beginnings. And I guess the critical thing, as I've thought about that, is that I'm a Christian, I'm a believer, and it has been amazing to see how God has led us. I mean, when there was a place where we were at the house, and I didn't know if it was going to work. You know, we really couldn't foresee that it was going to continue, or I was going to be able to continue. And just at the right time, something happened that led us to the next step. And the same thing when we finally moved out of the house and moved to this little building that's kind of over there by Local Harvest Pizza place, you know. The
little shack on Island Avenue.
That's right, yeah. And that was a monumental step to move out of the house where we weren't paying rent into a commercial building where we had to pay rent, you know. And again, every step along the way has been just phenomenal. I mean, there are times that I struggle, you know, our business struggles, and we wrestle, and those little mile markers are the things that encourages me on, because moving out of the house to that place on Island Avenue, and then moving from that business to our current location here where
I
we
think
have a
we
studio.
could probably actually fit that business inside the studio at
Yes,
this
we
current
could.
location.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's about the difference that we have going on here. Yeah.
Yeah, and you came to work for me while we were at that location on Island Avenue.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was 700 square feet in that little office, and the studio was literally the office, the main part of the office. And whenever we would do a shoot, we'd have to lock the doors and so on and so forth. And then it was right about then that kind of Grande Alive kind of came into being.
Yeah.
We were streaming and still do stream funerals for Loveland Funeral Chapel here in town, and so we had kind of figured out the mechanical part, the technical hurdles of streaming, and it was probably some conversation that you and I were having that day, and it's like, we should do a football game. And so then, we did our...
That was you, because I want nothing to do with football for the most part. So it must have been your idea. And it was like, we should do a football game. You're going to go do it. And I was like, all right, there we go. Just kind of like it was like, we're going to do like some shows. You're going to be on the show. So I was like, okay then.
Yeah. Well, I do remember that. And the one thing kind of led into another. And well, we really need some kind of programming every week. You know, that was what we were talking about. And I remember that conversation. It's like, you saying, well, who's going to be in front of the camera? And I said, well, I'm the boss. I vote you.
And here we are, however many years later, and both of us are in front of the camera.
That's right, yeah.
So now you, like I said, you've been in business for sort of 10 years now. You've given 10 years of your life to this thing that is Brent Clapp Media Services, Grande Alive. What have been some of the lessons and the things that you've taken from those 10 years?
Well, I think probably one of the things that surprises me the most is that, I grew up in a small business home. My dad was a landscaper and lawn care person, and there's that long story too, but I grew up in a small business home, so I understood how it functioned, but I really didn't understand how it grew. And I kind of had this idea that, if I just put up a shingle and buy the equipment and demonstrate that what I could do, that the customers would walk in the door. And it is not that simple. Mm-hmm. What I've found is that it's the relationships that you build with people. In the end, those relationships, the first cup of coffee that you have with a client, and then the second cup of coffee, and then a year goes by and you have lunch with them, and then 2 years goes by with them and they want you to do their first video project. Mm-hmm. And so it just takes a huge amount of time to foster relationships. And at the end of the day, that's what really matters. At the end of the day, it's the relationships that you build with people that matter. Those are the things that go on, whether you're doing business or not, and that's what happens, is the friendships that you build with people. And I guess I've just, it's taken a while to understand that it's not all about business. It's about building relationships with people, and sometimes those relationships lead to business and they lead to actual, income increasing. But sometimes they don't. Sometimes they just are a relationship that you build with somebody, and the goodwill that you present and the goodwill that you project, it affects your business, and hopefully it affects your bottom line. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, it increases the meaningfulness of what you're doing.
Well, and that's a very small town.
Yeah.
Very, very small town sort of attitude of it's not all about the business.
Right.
Sometimes it's just about the relationship that you build with the person outside of the business. And it's interesting, and I'm wondering, how do you, maybe someone right now is starting their own business. How do you balance that, Because, at the end of the day, you got to put food on the table, But on the other hand, you want to build those relationships and have those relationships in a small town.
Well, and, from a business standpoint, if you're going to start a business, you have to have income. You have to put food on the table.
Yeah.
And
unless you're rich, and
unless
you
you're
don't
rich.
need an income.
Well, and that and that's the answer. The answer is that I'm very thankful that Tanya has been incredibly supportive, and she's had a very stable job, you know. And you know, when you said earlier that, you know, I pay the bills for Grande Alive. The truth is the times, you know, when we don't make money, she's the one who's really paying the bills, because, you know, if all of our income equals our expenses, then I'm not taking home any money, and so then what's putting money on the table, or is she. And so I sometimes call her the ultimate producer, because
she's the real hero behind the scenes.
That's exactly.
She's behind here, just
right.
making sure that we don't say anything that is wrong
Yeah.
or incorrect.
Yeah.
Or she pulls the plug.
Yeah.
She's the real puppeteer.
You know, and it's kind of funny because, I mean, I like to brag about Tanya because, you know, over the years, she really knew nothing about production or photography or video, and she has an extremely keen eye. You know, she will watch this later and go, you know, the lighting, the backlight wasn't quite right, or was that camera in focus, or, you know, I mean, she's developed a very critical eye. But so getting back to what I say, so if somebody's going to start a business, you've got to have a plan to pay the bills, and you've either got to have a spouse that's going to carry the household expenses, you know, while the business is growing, or you've got to be rich. You've got to have a pocket of money that you're using to spend on the business while it gets going. Mm-hmm. But the reality is, in Eastern Oregon, in the Clayvilles, Linda and Dennis Clayville, Linda has told me a number of times that, you know, Nature's Pantry they're very successful. I mean, they have over 7,000 square feet of groceries and stuff. I mean, it's a very successful store. Well, it was many years before they took home a paycheck. And that's the reality of doing business. So you have to figure out a way of making that work. You know, I really, you know, I was looking for a job. I didn't have an income. And looking in retrospect, this was not a good idea. I didn't solve that problem. Yeah, I'd be way further ahead had I gone to work for somebody else, and you know, and so on and so forth. But that's just not how God led at the time.
So now, that all being said, so, you know, the bigger question of Grande Alive is, you know, kind of the why. Like, what is the reason that you keep coming to work every day?
Well, I guess there's a couple of things that I love, and you know these things well. You know, I'm kind of a gear guy. I mean, I like gear. I like, and particularly, I like putting systems together. You know, I was telling somebody yesterday, Eric Valentine, he was asking about football and our streaming, and I told him, you know, the equipment it's daunting. People have no idea the amount of stuff that it takes to make a sports production happen with replay and scoreboard, and you know, and all of that's depending upon a solid stream, you know. And so, but I enjoy that. I enjoy putting those pieces together. And at the end of the day, you know, when you back up further than that, I enjoy solving problems. I'm kind of a problem solver. It's one of the skills that I developed, and one of the skills that God gave me. And, you know, I should say that from my father. I mean, that's something that he really helped me develop and understand, as far as, you know, how things work and why they don't work, and what can we do to make them work. Because we didn't have very much money, and so as a family, so we were always trying to find a workaround. And that's kind of how this business has been. I mean, if we had, I don't know, $500,000, it's pretty easy to build a studio with cameras and so on and so forth. But when you're starting from nothing, you got to buy stuff on eBay, and you got to, you know, even now, I will look at a model of camera that I really like, knowing that in 2 or 3 years from now, when I can buy it used on eBay, that I'll be able to afford it, you know. And so that's part of solving problems, you know. But so that's the thing. I like equipment. I like solving problems. And the passionate part of it is that I like helping people solve their problems. You know, I mean, so much of what we do, from anything to digital, people bring, I mean, there's a VHS tape that's broken. Can you repair it and fix it, you know? To somebody who's trying to market their business and create something to get customers in the door or to get the attention of a particular clientele, you know, we are in the business of trying to solve their problems. And I get a lot out of that. I get a lot of joy out of assessing that and being successful at it, you know. And I think I love a team. I love the team aspect that we have. You and Katie and the interns that we have. I mean, together we're able to create something that is much larger and much more effective and much higher quality than if I were doing it by myself. And that team aspect, again, it comes back to people. You know, whether it's the people that walk in the door or the people that are on staff, you know, those relationships really matter, you know. And I should say that I really enjoy, you know, when the little old lady comes in, and
Which we do have quite a few little old ladies.
yeah,
that come
and
in.
hey, I took video of my great grandson on my phone, and I can't get it. I want to send it to somebody, you know. I like helping those kind of people, and you do too. I mean, it's one of the reasons that your desk is, you know, right at the front desk. It's because those are the kind of issues that we deal with all the time, and there's a lot of pleasure out of that in helping somebody that way.
Yeah, so now that kind of all being said, the direction of Grande Alive, what, you know, because, you know, you've been doing this for 10 years and you're kind of moving into the realm of internet television. You've explored the possibilities of maybe doing some sort of a local television channel. That's kind of maybe not the direction that you want to go. What is the direction that you're kind of wanting to take this? I mean, are you trying to turn it into a full-blown television channel? Like, what can LeGrand expect out of LeGrand Alive in the future where you're taking it?
Well, at the end of the day, I want it to be profitable.
You know, a good desire.
Yeah. I want it to pay for itself, and I want it to provide a living wage for my employees and myself. You know, I mean, that's the goal of every business. And so then part of what we do is trying to discover the niche that will kind of lead us to that way. Because this business would be a lot easier to start in a larger metropolitan area.
Yeah.
You know, the challenges would be different. We would have competition and so on and so forth. But still, it would just be easier to create. And so then what we have to do is figure out, and what we're constantly assessing is, how can we adjust things in such a way to where we're cutting expenses, but at the same time, with any business, you have to continue to expand. You have to continually cast a vision. You have to think about, hey, is there another way we can do this simpler, with more quality, for less money? I mean, that's always the right combination, you know. And so, you know, what we found with the Brent Clapp media side, and there are two fairly distinct sides of the business. Most people, I think, understand the production side of things. You know, we know that we're really good at what we can do. And, you know, us winning the award, the Travel Oregon Award last year on behalf of the local Chamber of Commerce, was a big win. And it was very validating for us that what we do can compete with anybody, even on the west side.
Sure.
But there just aren't that many clients. There aren't that many people that need really a higher end production stuff. Now that's changing over a period of time, because everybody understands the importance of, businesses understand the importance of a Facebook page or having a website, and all of that creates and needs quality media. But the reality is that part of our business model is increasing slowly. So then that kind of leads us to the Grande Alive TV side. And the reality is that financially right now, Brent Clapp Media carries Grande Alive TV. I mean, you know, when we figure the numbers at the end of the year, did the Grande Alive make money? We don't ever figure out, you know, well, how much did it cost to rent the cameras? How much did it cost to rent the studio? And so on and so forth. Because the studio's already here. And so then we're just trying to figure out, you know, the most base expenses, what it costs to operate La Grande Alive. But the reality is, in my opinion, it is the most viable area of growth in our business, because there is no local TV station, there is no local visual media. There are companies that are trying to do that here locally, but we've got a big head start on them, and just the quality of stuff that we do is going to be really hard to compete with. So, you know, so then how to expand in the La Grande Alive TV side? I think that I just want us to keep doing what we're doing and doing it broader, better. You know, we're trying to make an attempt to decentralize, you know, our programming so that it's not all based around you or I.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not on anything.
Yeah. So because the more that we can enable the public to be a part of that, you know, I think that's, you know, so then what we have is, if we can figure out a way of making little reporters in the field, you know, those people out there, and enable them to deliver content to us that we distribute, then that's a huge win. It's a huge win for everybody. You know, I was just talking to my son Brady the other day about an app that I think that we're going to develop at some point. And one of the things that would be kind of cool is if we, you know, people could submit their kid's soccer game. So then their soccer game would be submitted to us, and it would land on our website someplace. Or let's say that, you know, if we vetted people and we knew them, then if they came onto a fire at a home that's in Burns or someplace like that, you know, then we would be able to stream that live. I mean, of course, it'd be a vetted person so that we knew who they were, and that we knew that they weren't going to put us at risk or expose the public to something that we don't want them exposed to. But still, the point is, I guess part of my idea is to give some of this power to tap in. Everybody has a phone, everybody's doing this stuff. Is there a way that we can turn La Grande Alive, or, you know, turn Eastern Oregon Alive, which is a thing I've been playing with, into some kind of a clearinghouse that people can
Put their stuff in.
Put their stuff in, yeah. And then it's bigger and it wins. And essentially that's what we're doing already. You know, I mean, it's not changing what we're doing very much. It's just, we're just opening it up a little bit, you know.
A little bit broader.
So, and I think one of the other things that I enjoy live events, you know, and there's a number of reasons for that, but it's just something I've always enjoyed. And I like football, you know, I like live events. Football and sporting events are easier for us to do because, number one, we don't run into copyright issues, and everybody is already interested in their local high school, you know. So I'm exploring the idea of, you know, perhaps expanding our network and doing Baker City games, or doing some, you know, just again expanding what we're already doing into underserved communities like La Grande, you know.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So just getting bigger, doing what you're doing, the same thing, just getting bigger.
Yeah, and hopefully, you know, that it pays for itself.
Well, there you go. That's always the goal. Well, I think that we're running out of time here. So, Brent, thank you so much for joining me on your Coffee with Will show here in the studio.
But so this was kind of my idea.
Yeah, it was his idea.
It was idea. And so in a few weeks, I'm going to have Will on Brent Chats, and we will explore your story also.
Well, there you go.
Not only relating to La Grande Alive, but also a little bit more in your personal life that people might not know. So
people don't need to know that. I'm just a guy that drinks coffee and asks the questions. So Thank you, Brent, and thank you, La Grande Alive, for tuning in. This has been Coffee with Will, brought to you by Grande Alive Hospital, Northwest Furniture and Mattress, Anything to Digital, EONI, and Med Transport. Please like and share the video, and tune into LaGrandeAlive.tv for more local content. We'll see you next time on Coffee with Will.